Hi everybody, this is Nyang Neil from Advanced Property Strategies, and welcome to another episode of one of my podcasts. And really excited to have one of my superstar property students, Viv Halliday. How you going, Viv?
Yeah, good.
Excellent. And today it's a really unique opportunity for us to see what she's up to. Viv's been in property for a handful of years now, and she's been really wanting to transition from renovations into development. She's done a couple of subdivisions, but she's wanting to really do it in a big way. And this is one of her latest projects, which is really exciting to share with us. And she's been very generous to go through the deal pretty much blow by blow, and how she was able to find it, how she was able to fund it, and how she was able to exit it. So Viv, I'm really excited to have you share your story with us, and keen to hear your story. Hey.
Yeah, thank you for having me on. It's exciting.
Yeah, very good. So tell us, Viv, before we go into it, what does it make you love property so much? You've done a handful of buy and hold, a handful of renovations, and you really want to get into subdivisions big time, which you've done a couple, and this is one of your latest ones. So tell us about your passion about property and why you love property so much.
I think I've always loved property. I think from early days, even my early 20s, I was always looking at property, and I accidentally became a property owner by helping my mum out, and found myself renovating that in my 20s. And from there, I just sort of like, every time I sort of see property, I'm always sort of doing figures and seeing what I can do with it, what I can change, and what the opportunities are. So a lot of it I'd previous done had been buy and holds, like reno to improve. And then I did a few subdivisions and thought, gee, these are actually a lot easier on the body than the renos.
Yes.
So decided to sort of like look towards those a little bit more, and bigger chunk, chunk of money at the end of them as well. So looking to retirement. So trying to get that strategy in there to get, like a focus and get retirement on the happening list.
Yeah, very good. So look, you've got a really cool 2 into 2 deal today. We'll explain to people what that means. As you know, one of my mantras is get in, get out, get paid. And also you make your money when you buy. So definitely one of those themes there. So let's jump into this deal. And as we go along, you can reveal the good, the bad, the ugly. The fact that you've gotten paid and gotten out of it means that, we're at the conclusion. And I know you're looking for your next deals, plural. So do you want to share with us, firstly, how you found this deal and why you decided to proceed with it? And what was the vision that you had with this particular opportunity?
Okay, so this one was purely through networking, and that's what I love about property. We sort of like, when we get together with people, we really, we're very gracious and we help each other. And this was actually at an event of yours, Young, that somebody had been talking to somebody else that had this deal and needed some money, and so I just sort of went, yeah, I'm interested. So it was a JV deal right from the start. And as with a lot of deals, like, you sort of almost know straight away if it's going to work. And this was my love as well, like an old Queenslander in it. So this is a little bit of my passion and property as well. And I just could see that, like, you could easily split that block off on the side and renovate the house, and there was sort of like two ways to make money out of it, which is what I loved. Talked to the person who had it under contract, and between us figured out a way we could both make some money out of it.
Yeah, very good. So when you say 2 into 2, in this particular instance, was it a splitter? It looks like it is a splitter in the term.
Yeah. So there is a line down there. Yeah. So that's actually on 2 blocks, but there was no way of being in a character zone. There was no way of keeping that house on the 1 block. And plus, if you can actually keep the house in the same spot, it saves you a lot of time and effort and money.
Yeah, as you discovered, because I know, oftentimes we talk about the free block of land where you don't lift it, don't move it, don't slide it. And the rest of the capital into the development and some of it into the renovations. So it seems like on that site, it's got a really big tree there. Was that an issue at all for you?
Not really. It wasn't a substantial tree. We checked with council, wasn't listed anywhere. And so the first thing that we did once it was ours was the tree went. I mean, it was a beautiful tree, but I didn't want it to be an issue when we put it into DA.
Yeah.
And if it's not there, it's not an issue.
Yeah, that's right. That's
Yeah.
right. No,
So,
absolutely. So what were some of the other site issues that you had, or the DA issues? Because obviously when we look at it in 2 dimensions, it looks pretty flat. You can't tell which way the land slopes, where the stormwater is, or the services, because sometimes that can be a problem, sloping towards the rear. So tell us a little bit about some of the challenges that you had, especially with the DA, and then from a development side of things.
so with that, I think a lot of people had looked at it and there were a few issues on it, so they'd walked away. One of the issues was if we're actually putting that block up towards the house, usually you have to have 20 metres from the corner, and it was going to come in under that 20 metres. So we knew we'd have to get some traffic reports to sort of say that that was okay. But we did have people straight across the road on the worst side of the street with a closer crossover. So we thought that was okay. It did slope to the rear and towards the road, if that makes sense. And there was a flood overlay on it. So that was always going to be an issue, especially as it was over the front of the block, so the access of the block. But when we actually looked a little bit deeper, the flood overlay didn't affect it. So sometimes taking that extra step is really important. There was biodiversity on the block as well, which when you see the big mango tree there, you go, oh yeah, okay, you know, won't be able to move that. But the new biodiversity out didn't show it on our block. So we sort of like could easily cross a few of those issues off with looking a little bit further. The other issue that can be an expensive issue is that the sewer wasn't actually on our block. Like we only had a small sort of nib into the back of our block, so the main sewer didn't run through it. So we thought, well, perhaps we could just improve that connection. We actually went next door and asked for their permission to actually access the sewer from there. So we got that sort of done straight up so that we knew that we had that option, but always aware, as you've told us, that if it's not done, it's not done, and they can change their mind. So we did have a backup plan, but it meant that we had to go down the street and it was quite expensive, but we figured that and added it to the scenario as just in case. And luckily we could talk them quite easily into saying, yeah, do it, because there was a few issues with their sewer. There was tree roots and things, and so by us fixing that problem for them, we got ours, so it was good.
Yeah, very good. And that's the thing, obviously, you've learnt over time in terms of getting what you want. If you can find out what other people want and join those 2 dots together, it makes life a whole lot easier. So from a joint venture point of view, talking about solving problems, is you had a JV partner on this. I understand that from a financial point of view, he couldn't do it by himself, and that's why he's looking for money partners. So how did this joint venture come along, and how did it work out in the end so that everybody had a win-win scenario there, Viv?
Well, it sort of started off that I was going to fund the whole thing and he was going to run it. And then when we put things through the bank, I didn't quite meet what they needed, and he didn't quite meet what they needed. And so we thought, well, let's just do this deal as a JV, So it's just a matter of working around what can work and just looking for the options. And so we actually went half and half with the funding of it.
Yes.
And because I had more experience than Michael with the renovation side of it,
yes,
I chose to take that on. And plus I also had already done a few subdivisions by that stage, so I was quite happy to sort of like watch and sort of know what was going on and see any issues, and he did a great job as well. So we sort of talked really well together. So like everything was sort of like about the deal and making the deal work, and not keeping not having personalities in the way, although we did gel very well anyway.
That's right. You told him what to do and he listened, or?
um, well, as far as the house was, he was sort of like, oh, yeah, you do that. But yeah, a lot of the other stuff was like, how can we?
Yeah.
But yeah, it was pretty good.
So once you got the DA approval, was it just all downhill from there, or all straight run from there, or how was it? How did you go? Once the DA was approved, obviously the next processes were to renovate the house as well as do the civil works and sell the block and the house. So tell us, after the DA, which directions did it go, and what challenges did you experience? Because I know that there's some really good stories you have here for us.
Yeah, there was a few issues when we sort of got the DA through at first. Like they did actually have on the construction part of it for the civils, they had fill on there at first, and we went back and said, well, no need to. Like the whole site is above the flood level, so we actually had to sort of fight a few things to save some money and. Even like we decided to do the renovation first, and we were going to Airbnb it for a little while, but getting that sewer in took a lot longer than what we'd hoped. So the house was pretty much done and just waiting for connection to the sewer for quite a while. For some reason, they decided that we needed to put stormwater along the small boundary, if that makes sense, so that the upstream properties could have stormwater. There was nothing subdividable upstream, so normally it's just that. Perhaps we didn't fight hard enough. I'm not too sure, but we ended up putting that in, so we ended up with an easement on that back block. We had issues with QUU. Once the design was okayed by them, they basically didn't want to approve it because it didn't cover the whole of the house lot. So our civils engineer had designed it the most effective and cheapest way, which is in the wording of the code, but somehow in QU somebody got their nose out of joint and decided that they didn't like that. So in the end it was like a bit of negotiation with QUU, civils guys, and we ended up putting a little bit of marking on the house block to show what area couldn't be serviced by that sewer.
Yeah, understood.
Yeah.
So let's have a quick look at the numbers, right? So you paid $845. There's reno costs there, purchase costs, subdivision costs, all up 1.8, so 1.087, and then you sold it for 1.315, the house and the land. So yeah, do you want to just share with us the process of, so these are the projected numbers. I think you did a little bit better than that, which was great, but
yeah,
do you want to just share with us the process of selling the house and selling the land, that and the learnings along the way? I think that's probably the most important thing, because some of the guys on this call are beginners and they're looking at getting into development. They love the free block of land strategy. Some of them are doing cosmetic structural renovations. But yeah, what would you say that the biggest learnings you've had along the way with, let's say, selling the land as well as selling the building? Because you had multiple contracts go on and a couple of them fell over and it was a roller coaster.
Oh yeah, I couldn't believe that. I suppose with the house, first off, we looked at what we could do to the house that would give us the better return. So how we could change that design and get the biggest bang for our buck. So having a 4-bedroom house, and this is what I always do anyway, is I talk to the agents in the area to see what is wanted, what people are wanting in the area, because there's no use producing some beautiful product that nobody wants.
Yeah.
So, like having an ensuite was important, and having that 4th bedroom would open up the doors to more people. So we actually changed it around, just sort of flipped it. Cost a little bit more. A deck was a must, a nice kitchen was a must, the ensuite was a must. We actually didn't end up doing very much to the bathroom at all, which sort of saved us some money. So we ended up giving a nice sort of open plan renovation back to the market, and a property that was sort of like suitable for young homeowners trying to get into the market. So they might only have 1 or 2 kids trying to get into the market, but this sort of like gave them everything that they'd want to, because a lot of people don't want to do anything these days. So put a nice secure fence around it because it was on a busy road, and just made it, look, that kitchen before, I don't know how she was. The lady that was renting it had been renting it for about 10 years, and my God, there was only that and another cupboard in there. I have no idea how she survived that. But yeah, making it workable, and giving that outdoor access to a deck. That's just what we do these days. We live on our decks.
For sure.
And yeah, we actually, that sleep out was not legal height, but having a look through the manhole and looking at the outside and that, I figured that we could actually access that and put a raked ceiling in it and get legal bedrooms out of it, which was a bonus. You
very
really
clever.
made some money out of that.
Yeah, very clever. Hey, I was going to say, notice I'm going to slide back to a couple of the photos here. Explain to the listeners here. So oftentimes when people see homes like this, the first thing they want to do is lift it and slide it and build in under. So why did you not do that? What was your strategy and thinking behind that?
We're actually on a main road, so it was the money that we were going to get back would have been capped. So if we'd actually sort of done that, whereas houses sort of like 2 streets over would have been up in the millions, I'd looked at what people were getting on that main road, and you're not getting as much return from that. I think the people that actually have bought it are looking at maybe doing that down the track. So it also sort of, because it's like quite low from that angle, and it actually drops away at the back because the land slopes towards the back. So a lot of it is legal height underneath, and they can actually do a little bit with it now, but it's not too hard for them to lift it and build in under as well. So it gave them options. Yeah. So without costing us as much and risking sort of like not getting that dollar back, we were basically giving them something with options that they could move in and live right now.
Yeah, very good. So, and I think that's really where you've nailed it, and that's what we teach in our clients, is that with the free block of land, ideally leave the house where it is, don't lift it, don't slide it, don't move it, and sell potential, right? Sell potential, like you said, they can move in straight away. It's a 4-bedroom house. It's not a 3-bed, it's not a 2-bed, it's not cramped. You've got a fair bit of room upstairs, and then you've got a fair bit of storage space downstairs as well, especially if some of it's legal height. And even if it's not, I'm sure they could dig it out and put some retaining walls there to put more storage in, whether it's a car, jet ski, boat, old gear, kayaks, So I think, that's the takeaway there, is definitely make it livable, but also sell the potential. So it looks great. And then if they want to, like you said, lift it and build in under, or just dig it out and build in under, there's potential there. So, so I'm going to flick through some of the photos, but tell us more about the sales process. And we laughed before about some of the contracts that fell through and came to your door. So just work through a couple of those. You don't need to go through every deal blow by blow though.
No, that's okay. The first contract we had on it was a young boy, and he was really excited to move into it. But the solicitor and broker were giving him GST advice on it, and he got scared that he was going to have to pay the GST if I didn't, when there was no GST payable on it. So he just got scared getting advice from the wrong people. So he walked. And then we got another contract on it for another $10,000 more. Unfortunately, they used the same bank, and when they went to do their valuation, they already had a valuation on file for that.
Right, from the last buyer. Right.
So they basically came back with us and said, look, like the bank will only value it at this. And at that stage, it was coming up for Christmas. So this is a big sort of lesson, like, we could have sort of tried and pushed it to get that extra 10. But we're looking at coming into summer. I didn't have that house air conditioned.
Yes.
So it was sort of like I would have to spend more money on it. And then there's always a lull over Christmas. And I just
that's right.
take the money and run.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's it.
So, and the block did the same thing. We had a contract on that for somebody that wanted to move a house onto it. And I don't think he really sort of understood the DA process and how it all worked. And he got scared at the last minute and pulled out. And by that stage, we were a little bit slow with getting contracts on that land. I think a lesson that I've learned is to put signs and approach everybody really early on. I mean, we got good money for it. And what I'd been doing during that time is just making a big list of all the people that have been phoning and finding out how interested they were and everything. And so when he pulled on that contract, I just phoned up one of the other guys that had been really interested, and he just put another contract on it straight away for more. So yeah, it was sort of like, okay, we'll just make sure that you're sort of like chasing those contracts early on and keeping all the details, because you never know when you need them.
Yeah, that's right. So, and that's the thing, is a deal isn't done until it's done. Money's in the bank, cash unconditional deposits paid even. So you got to keep chasing, getting the backup contracts, right? So,
yeah, absolutely. Yep.
Yeah, very good. So let's start to go through the numbers, and then we can finalize it there. So those are the original numbers. We've already covered that. But in the end, your reno cost came up a fair bit. I think you're predicting 70.
So we actually decided to put, like, the original reno was just basically tizzy it up. But then when we actually looked a little bit closer at what was selling on the market, and we really weren't going to get any extra money for doing a tizzy up reno, because people in the area were expecting a deck and they were expecting a lot more. And then there was sort of like a gap, and it sort of jumped up. So we decided that we could actually make a little bit of money out of the reno by doing a little bit more, by putting that deck on it, by putting the 4th bedroom on it and changing around and putting a good kitchen in there. So we decided to sort of go at that step further.
Yeah, fair enough.
And get more money for the house. So
and so with your predicted land and house prices, how are they compared to your predictions in the end?
We actually had predicted 600 for the land sale, so we got a little bit more, and I think we were about 7 for the house. So we actually sort of got more than that as well. So we spent probably 70 more and got, like probably 80 on top of that. So
very good. So well done. So your profit there was around about 220K. And what was that time frame on that? Was it 8 months, 6 months?
About 8 months. It should have been a little bit less, but we were basically sitting in QU for 2 months.
Bloody institutions like that's pretty crazy. So
that's the way it goes.
So look, just in wrapping up, do you want to just give like 2 or 3 tips for beginners? Because some people, they might see what you're doing, go, wow, that's really what I want to do. I want to get into development down the track. Some of them, just want to get into their first deal, whether it's their first home or first investment. So do you want to just give people 1 or 2 key tips that they can take away, especially in this game of property, which can be a bit of a roller coaster at times?
Yeah, I think get as many quotes as possible. Like when you're doing those early figures, go that extra step if it looks like it might work, and just sort of see whether it will. Get some quotes from just your civils guys, and that they'll have a pretty good idea what you're looking at in your town planner. Like those partnerships with those professionals are gold, so they can sort of really help you through that. As far as the reno for the house, really make sure that what you're going to put back to the market is desirable, so that you've got people fighting over it. And make sure really know your numbers, because like the difference between being on that busy road and not is about 200K.
Yeah, for sure.
So very, very easy to misread what you're going to get back.
Yeah, absolutely. And over-capitalize, right? That's a big mistake that people make, isn't it?
Yeah. Quite often I sort of see that people sort of think they're going to get more for the end product because they've got that emotion in it, they've made it look so beautiful and they sort of think that it's going to be more. But when you actually look at what has sold and you talk to the agents and everything, I mean, some of them will still talk up the price so that they can get the deal, and you've got to be aware of that. But just sort of have a look at what the people are buying and what sort of money they're paying for it.
Yeah, for sure. Very good, Viv. Look, thanks for your time today. Really appreciate it. And thanks for your generosity with all this.
All right.
And yeah, really, look forward to having you another time when you get on to your next deal. Hey, rock and roll, hey?
Yep, that's great. Thanks, Jan.
Awesome. Thanks, Viv. And
All right.
guys, for listening today. And we'll catch you next time on this podcast. I hope you have a great day. And this is Young Nguyen signing off. Catch you next time.